Thank you for joining us today for Think Big with Michael Zellner, powered by Sleepy Z's Masonry. My guest today for episode 149 is part two of my podcast interview with Gregory Jbara. If you haven't watched part one yet of our podcast with Greg, he went to college at the 2023 national champion Michigan Wolverines, University of Michigan. If you watched it a few weeks ago, they won the playoffs. Incredible game, beating Washington. So I know that Greg has to be extremely happy about that. So congratulations to you and your school for your championship this year.
Go Blue.
Yeah, since 1997, I believe, is the last time that Michigan had won. So that's awesome. Yeah. Greg majored in communications studies and minored in theater at Michigan. He left Michigan and got accepted to the prestigious Juilliard School's drama division. And there he got his Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. And he has had an amazing career in television, stage, and film, including most recently for his role as Senator Warren Magnuson as chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee in Oppenheimer. Last time we left off, we were talking about the Tony Award he won in 2009 for Best Featured Actor in a Musical in the production of Billy Elliot, the musical on Broadway. And I mentioned in part one that I actually had seen Greg on Broadway myself back in October of 2005 when he was one of the stars of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, along with John Lithgow and several other well-known actors at the time. And before we get started with the podcast today, I want to make sure I thank our two new sponsors for the show, Roof and Nail and Buckley's Grill. Roof and Nail is one of the leading experts in insurance restorations. Co-owner Kelly Potter and his crews are preferred vendors in the mainstream insurance companies focused in the tri-state areas of Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Not only can they provide you with the best evaluation on your roof to see if you qualify for insurance approval, but they also can provide you with a competitive out-of-pocket bid for roofing projects, and whether the project is big or small, they do them all. And Buckley's Grill is a hidden gem for those seeking fantastic dining experience in Memphis. It's been locally owned by Jeff Fiorinelli and Ken Dick for over 30 years. They specialize in steaks, Southern hospitality. It's an upscale restaurant, boasts a contemporary atmosphere with a touch of classic elegance. And from the moment you step inside, you're greeted with friendly faces, warm hospitality that makes you feel right at home. So definitely want to thank our two new sponsors of the show. The CBS hit drama Blue Bloods first aired on September 24th, 2010. The show has been a major hit for 13 seasons, and so far to this date has aired 275 episodes. It's been on at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central slot on Friday nights, I believe, during the entire 13 seasons. During season one, from episodes 1 through 19, there were a few different people that looked like they possibly were going to be New York City Police Commissioner Frank Reagan's quote-unquote assistant. And that all changed on April 29th, 2011 for season one, episode 20, entitled All That Glitters, when Gregory Jbara walks into Frank's office and joined the show as a series regular as Deputy Commissioner Public Information Garrett Moore. Greg has now been in well over 200 episodes of the 275 so far, and thankfully he is back for Blue Bloods' final season, which begins tonight on CBS. And we really didn't get to talk much about Blue Bloods in part one because Greg has done so many amazing things in his career before he even got that role. But for part two today, we will do that, especially since season 14 begins tonight and it's the show's last hurrah. Welcome back for part two, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You make everything sound good, man.
Oh, thank you.
The sponsors, I want to go eat there. I want to wreck my roof so I can get it fixed. And you made it sound like I have a real career. It's like,
I tell you, the restaurant actually is amazing. I've been going there since they opened in the late 90s, and it is really a great restaurant. So amazing steak.
You make it sound so, yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, Greg, you were no stranger to television before you started on Blue Bloods. You had guest starring roles in shows over the years like Frazier, Newhart, Law and Order, The West Wing, Touched by an Angel, and you had reoccurring roles on the show That's Life, and you were on seasons 2 through 5 on the show Grounded for Life. But to be a regular series guest star on such a great show that's lasted for what will be, 14 years is incredible. and it shows what a great all-around actor you are. Did you ever imagine when you first started that both the show and your character, DCPI Garrett Moore, would be as successful as they have been?
You never know. You know, when I don't know if we discussed this in the first talk, but the fact that I got this job was because it was Tom Selleck, with whom I've had a working relationship since we met on the movie In and Out,
Yeah,
many years ago. This is the third TV job that he's given me. So originally it was just supposed to be a 2-episode arc at the end of the first season.
oh,
And
I
that's
didn't know
all it
that.
was. And as we were finishing shooting the second of the 2 episodes, Kevin Wade, our executive producer, we're shooting on location at, is it called Bamonte's? Yeah, Bamonte's Italian, where in early days, the commissioner and the DCPI would always meet there for a drink to decompress after, you know, dodging a major bullet.
Right.
And we were shooting there, and Kevin Wade takes me aside, and we sit at a little empty back table, and he goes, are you enjoying this? And I went, wait, does it seem like I'm unhappy? Because he goes, no. He goes, it's just, this was really working. And we love how the relationship you and Tom have and how it's all playing out. And he goes, I'd like to write more episodes for you for next season. And I'm going, yeah, you bet. I'll do it. Yeah, happily. So, you know, it was, you know, little baby steps along the way. I thought it was two episodes working with probably the most loyal professional friend you could ever hope to have. And then I maybe did 8 or 10 episodes the next season, and the next season did a few more. And then by season 4 or 5, I think I was all episodes produced. So it's to be a 62-year-old actor who has had the tremendous career that I had leading up to winning a Tony Award, which is a huge career validation. And then to have the phone call from the agent go, Tom Selleck wants you to come be on his TV show. And it's like, oh, somebody just pinched me, because it's like dream trajectory. It's, and I can't take any credit. I just go, how did I get to be so lucky? So every day I giggle, I pinch myself, I have gratitude, and had no idea that it would create the kind of job security that I've had for we're going on 14 years. It's crazy. And in a perfect time, you know, I'm at an age where I've got 2 kids in college. Well, one's already graduated, you know, just to have the stability of a gig like this is a gift. And no, I did not see it. Truth be told, after that first season, I don't think, maybe the first 2 seasons, it was not a given that the show was going to continue on. It was like we were always waiting till the very last minute for CBS to officially go, yeah, okay, we're going to do another season. Right. So there's never been, you know, a done deal in any respect, which is kind of, you know, I think it's par for the course. At least from my experience, you always go, oh, well, hopefully we all come back for next season, but it's all, you know, it's up to the bosses at CBS. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride, and it will be coming to an end. But just like when Tom has always shown up when I needed him, I have another gig already lined up after. So
that's awesome.
And it's something completely different and new, and nothing I could have planned for. It's just another confirmation that I'm really, really lucky, really lucky.
Yeah, you know, the old saying, luck is sometimes it is a lot of preparation. Obviously, you working hard in the industry for so many years plays a big role in that too, and the success that you've had, because I'm sure Tom would have never asked you to, you know, be on the show and do the things you've done if he didn't think you were a great actor himself.
He is the best validation an artist could ever hope for. You know, I may have told this story when we finished shooting In and Out. He said, excuse me, he said to me, he goes, "You're funny." He goes, "I have a production company. I'm going to hire you. We're going to work together again." And this is, you know, the end of a big movie, my first big role in a big feature. And I got Magnum going, hey man, you're all right. And I'm thinking, that's enough. I could die and go to heaven.
Right.
I'd be happy just to hear that validation. But then for him to literally step up several times with, I'm just lucky.
I've watched the Magnum obviously still has reruns, and I found it on a couple different channels, so I still watch it, probably 2 or 3 times a week. And it's hard to believe that's been over 40 years ago when that show started.
Yeah, crazy. And how he looks in those volleyball shorts. He probably
short shorts and the long socks.
Yeah, that's something. I couldn't have done that when I was in my 20s.
When you spoke about the movie In and Out, I think that started Kevin Kline and Tom had like a 12-second kiss on that that movie, if I remember. And you had joked to Story Magazine once. You said, quote, "I don't know where he got the insane perception of me as an actor, but gratefully he considers me someone he likes to work with and has repeatedly called on me and offered me opportunities," unquote. And just like you said, he offered you, he's the one that suggested you for the part of, Garrett Moore. And you said, quote, "The truth is I got hired because of Tom." He said, "I want Greg Jbara to play the role," which, just like you said, it's the third different, TV drama, I guess, he's given you in career. High praise from that man himself is just amazing. Because, he obviously, you can't think of anyone that's a bigger star than him. He's on that level to where he's one of the obviously, top people that's been on television for, just like we said, over 40 years. What was going through your mind when you got that opportunity, even though you thought it was just going to be a couple of roles, to work with him again?
What was great was, it was, let's see, how can I say this discreetly? In that first season, the show is going through a lot of growing pains. So there was, we had the original show creators who were no longer running the show after the first season. We had, there were a lot of different ideas. For those who are real devoted to the show, that first season, there was a real-time crime center that was like the hub of all the techno surveillance.
Yeah, through the windows of the office. Yeah.
Yeah. That was literally, he would step out of his office and be in the thick of it. But he really understands great storytelling, and he knew that we needed to make the show more character driven instead of procedural. And he did not enjoy having to step into that real-time crime set and look at a bunch of green screens,
right,
and pretend that things are happening, you know what I mean? And manifest all this stuff. Not that he wasn't capable of doing it, but he's like going, this isn't what the show needs to be. And he was so invested in, we need characters that we care about. We need a family that we care about. We need people, because they're going to come back to see what happens to their favorite characters. Not, did they get the, did they get the bad guy? That's not the most important thing. So he knew, he's known all along what the show needed to be successful. And right, just gratefully, I always say, because he's such a class act. And I'm a fart and laugh guy. And I really believe that the reason he likes to have me around is because I'll make all the inappropriate jokes, you know what I mean? That we can be like 16-year-old kids, and laugh at ridiculous humor that he himself won't be the impetus for, because he's classy, but right, it's like, I don't want Greg around because he can be my Corchester, and he can say the stuff and we can all laugh out loud and it'd be great. But Tom goes, "Oh, that was Greg. I didn't say that though."
Right, like the Andrew Dice Clay sort of stuff in a way, maybe.
Yeah. But what really has evolved is the whole, HR, especially once CBS did all the mergers with Paramount and all that stuff. It used to be, there's something about, there's no place for good old boy, inappropriate,
sure,
coercion, sexual assault, or even inappropriate humor, things that could be found offensive.
Right.
We definitely felt the tone, like things changed once HR with corporate America got involved in the day-to-day life on our set. And it was important because you didn't really think about, we just think, we just think, oh, this is funny. But if you really think about, what if somebody off in the corner has a personal connection to the thing that we're making fun of?
True.
And you go, oh, you kind of, and so I like the fact that it caused an awareness. So that we're like, so you're rethinking what's appropriate, instead of let's just make everybody laugh for the sake of, shock humor,
I remember, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I remember, in season one, like, the premiere, how it was more lit up, like the house was a little bit lighter, the kitchen was a little bit lighter, even the dining room, and they darkened, and I know that's just probably maybe just a little thing, but they sort of maybe, darkened it up a little bit, the backgrounds. I remember, the character of Sammy, in the first episode, I guess, that didn't work out. And so,
right, a different actress in the pilot.
Right. And thank, right. Sammy Gale, coming in, I believe on episode 4. And what an amazing actress, she turned out to be perfect for that role.
Yeah.
And even, Danny's partners changing until they found the right one,
yeah.
So a lot of changes were made just early on.
There were, and all under the inspiration of, they wanted everyone to be happy, like the actors who were there either needed to move on or weren't the right fit or had issues they needed to take care of at home. And yeah, I remember Donnie's partners, it was like a revolving door for a couple of seasons, right? We just had, I think he went through like maybe there were two or three other partners before Marissa,
right.
Took over the mantle.
Speaking,
they work hard. They spend a lot of energy. When there was an episode that we actually got to meet my character's wife, who's in the story of our show. She's my third wife, and it's an episode where Garrett and his wife get swatted at their house. And the casting office, Bowling Misha Bowling, I always forget what order it is. Kim Misha, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to cast your wife. Are there any actresses that you'd like us to look at, to consider?" And my entire career was in New York City, so there's a stadium full of amazing, talented women that I've had the opportunity to work with in the 25 years leading up to this job. And I thought, how flattering that they're, at least, they'll at least meet with anybody that I would like them to. And then it took just another minute to think, and I went, oh no, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want any actress who I don't think about, anybody, because you could have cast it with so many amazing women. But if anyone who are really good friends of mine found out that they weren't on the list, it'd be a dead man.
Right.
So it was like, I went back to the casting office and said, "Hey, thanks, but you guys do such a great job. Please, you do your thing. I know it'll be great." And then they ended up casting Rebecca Eichenberger, who I've known since she dated my little brother.
Oh my gosh! No,
in the late '80s, So it was, they couldn't have. They're always the casting on that show. And we just, the episode we're shooting now, we got a bunch of other great Broadway actors who are all, well, Stephanie Kurtzuba, who plays Captain, Vanessa's, Ray's character's boss.
The redheaded lady.
Yeah. She and I did Billy Elliot together. But she's been with, but to have the wealth of talent that are stage actors in New York to pull from, to cast these characters. We had Mary Testa and Jimmy Smagula on this episode. I didn't get to see them. They worked on days that I wasn't here, but I walked in yesterday to work and everybody goes, "Jimmy Smag said hello," and Mary Testa said hello. And it was like, oh, I didn't get to see him. It was like, but every day Christopher Inbar, who I did Victor Victoria with on Broadway, he was Michael Nuri's understudy, and then went on to star in all of his own Broadway shows. Amazing voice singer, handsome as all get out. I got to run into him in the costume department. He was having a fitting, and it was like, what? What are you doing here? So it's a great gig because the actors that we get to have, pop in and out, we all have history with them, or we revere them. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. And I said the character of Sammy, I meant Nikki, played by Sammy Gale, and just done an amazing job, and obviously singing and dancing. I remember an episode with her and up on stage with her great grandfather, singing in the first season, and just done. Everybody on the show has just been amazing to watch. Your show and NCIS have been my favorite shows over the years, so it's been just a pleasure to watch for so many years.
Sammy Gale was starring in Gypsy on Broadway with the Patti LuPone Gypsy, I think. It was while I was doing Billy Elliot. We coincidentally lived in the same apartment building at 50th and 8th Avenue, the Longacre. And so we knew her because all the kids that were on our show, Billy Elliot, knew Sammy because, the world of the theater kids.
Sure.
And then I found out that she got cast, as Nikki. And then, I had a little envy. I was going, oh man, I'd really like to be on that show. And then, she was what, 4th episode? Yeah, they took 15 episodes later. They went, all right, Greg, we're throwing you a bone. And it was like, Sammy, hi, folks, because it was like we'd run into each other in the hallway in the apartment building.
Yeah. How does Tom's influence, he influence the atmosphere on the set?
Okay, so, and the revelation happened the first time that Bob Clohessy, who plays Gormley, and we had a scene in Garrett's office that was just him and me. It was the first time we'd had a scene without Tom. And we're setting up to shoot, and we're in rehearsal, and the energy on the set is a little more loose, a lot more laughter, kind of like people are just it's a little more loose. Because and then we go to rehearse. Bob sits in his chair, and the dolly grip, Chris, had a remote fart machine. And when Bob sat down, this huge fart went off, and everybody's just busting up laughing. And up until that moment, Bob and I are going, who are all you people? Because when Tom comes to work, he's, a great guy, great sense of humor, but he knows if we let things get away from us, it could take twice as long to shoot a scene than we need to.
Sure.
So what I realized was the luxury of working with Tom is that you're first up in the day, and then we're done. We're out of there by 2:00. We've shot the scenes for the day, and everybody is like laser focused. There's no extra chatting. Everybody's like ready to do their job. They don't call us to set until all the camera moves are rehearsed and it's lit and it's perfectly ready to go. And it was like, and it's just a machine. And everybody's really respectful and really professional, but really focused on the work. And this was the first time we went, and then they said, when we shoot with Donnie or, over the precincts, he goes, they're doing big time, WWE wrestling stunts on the desks, between takes, and, smashing things. And it's just a whole other vibe, but it's because Tom goes, look, I'm getting on in years. I want to work first in the morning while I'm still conscious, and my coffee's still working, and let's, focus and get her done. And I realized that's really kind of great because our day is so short and everybody works really hard, and then we're in and out of there. But, some of those, I go, man, you guys had a long day out in that location. And they're going, yeah, because we were blowing things up, and then we tried 9 million other ways, and then we're all laughing, and it was like there's a whole other vibe that's a little more loose and perhaps a little more crazy that I'm kind of glad that I don't have to deal with, that I get to be a part of. Tom, who just says, here's how I like to work. When I'm on set, let's let's all do our gig.
Right.
So what he brings is a professionalism, and and he doesn't like to waste his time.
Right.
And I get to be on the receiving end of that efficiency, which is great.
So it was a great idea bringing Gormley in season 5 into the 1PP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're going, oh, this is oil and water. No, it was genius. It was absolutely genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I knew back in the day who made that decision. I'm sure it was, by committee, but yeah, until Bob was in 1PP, Abby Hawk is just hung the moon, and she doesn't get to show her humor, her really twisted humor, in her character, but we have so much fun, the two of us, being offset, waiting between takes, conversations, finding out about, sharing kid stories. But when Bob came in, it was a whole other vibe that was completely perfect.
That's
And
awesome.
he too he's a nut job in the best sense of the word.
Sure.
Just always happy, always positive. That I get to work with those guys, all three of them, it's the reason I love going to work.
As I mentioned, you started on the show in season 1 on episode 20. Your first scene was about 10 minutes in the show. You just walk into Frank's office and say, quote, "Can we jump right in?" And his response was, "Do you have another speed?" And it was like you had been on the show for the first 19 episodes and you belonged exactly where you were at the time. Watching it, it seriously was like you two had been working together for years. Was that combination of both acting and also knowing each other so well that you're able to do that?
I'm sure the fact that we've known each other for so long, but he's also, I won't say he directs me, but Tom's actually involved in the editing process, after we shoot. So he knows, he's already looking at picture and story and what's going to go. And he's been doing this for so long. So my first day, I think I had a pretty big speech, like came right in and it's like, blah, 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 like a half a page of spew, right? And excuse me. It was, my nerves. I was excited to be there. And he took me aside, he goes, Greg, he goes, go slow to go fast. And I went, oh, okay. All right. Go slow to go fast. So I took my time, let the ideas formulate as they tumbled out of my mouth. And then the scene played like perfection. And the great thing is he's always looking out for your performance as well. He's the way we always shoot Tom's coverage first. So we rehearse a scene, we read it for the first time. I mean, and often for shooting a scene, it was rewritten the night before, so you don't even know what it's going to be. We sit down in the room that we're going to be filming in. We read through the scene, then we put it on its feet, decide who's going to stand where and how, or make changes to the script if anybody has notes or feels that some things don't really work. And then when we start shooting, we actually shoot all of Tom's close-ups first. So he is really invested in making sure everybody in the scene is like ready, picture ready, even though the camera's not going to be on us, that we've done all the math, that we know what our characters are trying to do, so that we can give him the performance that ultimately you'll be seeing when the cameras finally turn around on the set and shoot in our direction. And it's an interesting thing to appreciate, because you could just, and I have had mornings where it's just like, I'm just saying the words, getting, just saying them, and he's like going, can we actually bring something to this? He goes, we're capturing my reactions, and right now you're putting me to sleep, but in a playful way,
right?
But in a professional way too. So that was early days. It wasn't like I kept showing up and the luxury is, I mean, I know the reason he enjoys having Garrett and Gormley and Baker is that when stories need a lot of exposition to set up stuff, he'd rather have somebody else have to do all that memorization and spew all the shoe leather and lay all the cable to get the story, going in the audience's mind. So he wisely peopled his world at 1PP with actors that who are happy to have more screen time and memorize all the big words and do all that stuff. So he doesn't have to,
Never thought about that, but yeah, exactly. Y'all walk in the office and say the big thing, and he just sort of a lot of times just has a reaction and doesn't have to say as much.
Yeah, and it's so smart. Actually, even yesterday, we were right after we rehearsed the first scene of the day. He took the writers and the director. He said, "So the scene we're going to shoot tomorrow, he's going. So this paragraph right here that I think Baker needs to say that." And it was like, and Abby and Bob and I are sitting in our 3 chairs, and Abby goes, "Oh yeah, now I'll be up all night memorizing a half a diatribe for but it's like, we know that's the job.
Right.
And fortunately I still have my faculties and memorization, which it was not a muscle I had when I started on Blue Bloods. But now we'll get a 5-page scene that I've only seen for the first time, in its final version. We rehearse it, put it on its feet, then we go away for 30 to 45 minutes while they light the scene to shoot it. And in that 30 to 45 minutes, I can actually memorize 5 pages of dialogue.
Wow.
And I couldn't before working on this show. And it was something I learned to do on the show. But the moment we're done, it's like someone just took a big toilet brush through my ears and cleaned the whole scene up. I couldn't tell you what I said. Right. Once they go, "All right, we got it, moving on." And it was like, it's fascinating, actually, the skill set that you develop out of necessity.
Right. It even goes further in your last 2 scenes on episode 20 when you were with Frank. You said to him, quote, "You're an idiot." And then in the last scene in the bar, I guess that you were talking about that y'all filmed in, where you were supposedly, like I said, they made it sound like you had been there the whole time because you were supposedly resigning again. You give him that letter and he goes, I think you said you can just sign it, and he reads through it and he said, "This is painful for me." And he crosses through it. He makes fun of you. He orders a drink on your tab, and then you call him a cheap bastard. I mean, it's funny as heck. Were those true lines, or was there any improvisation there at all?
I actually contributed "You're an idiot."
Okay.
It was another one of those scenes where he took on the mayor's DCPI, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then she leaves a room, and I'm there, and then the moment she closed the door, I go, "You're an idiot." And we were working on the scene, and Tom goes, "We got to find the right leaping point for you." He goes, "What would you say?" And I'd say, "You're an idiot." And he goes, "Great. You guys like that? Yeah. Everybody liked it? Okay, good." So I should have gotten a writing credit for that line. Right. But I think "Cheap Bastard" was actually in the script. But I can remember thinking, wow, I have to be careful when I open my mouth because people assume that I know what I'm talking about. And it's a little intimidating.
It was just funny though, because like I said, it was just like, once again, they made it look like you had been there and just not on, camera, and with the resigning thing and everything. So that was, and I think he actually said this letter's even better than the first one. Like you had even, done it before. So it was just great.
It seems like such a simple mechanism, but in that one episode, they were able to establish a deep history, with those 2 characters that was absolutely plausible. Right. And it was just with words, which is pretty amazing.
It was. How did you approach developing the character of Garrett in the first few seasons, and what aspects of his personality do you find most intriguing?
Well, I don't know that I've, like, as an actor, for example, that episode you were talking about, all this information that's on the page. And as an actor, my only job is to say the words that they've written for my character and make them sound they're really coming out of my noggin. You know what I mean? Without overdoing it. Because Tony Roberts, a Woody Allen stalwart movie actor. Well, he and I did Victor Victoria together, and he once shared a story. He said, he goes, who was it? But he was sharing the story. I don't remember it was him. Oh, but he played Hamlet, maybe at Northwestern University. And he goes, he was a New York, he's a New York Jew. He goes, I'm not Hamlet. And whoever it was, the director said, the audience comes, they sit down, they look at the playbill, it says Hamlet. The lights go up, curtain comes on, you come walk on, and people say, Hamlet, hail, whatever. From that moment forward, you are Hamlet. You don't have to do anything else because we've established that that's who you are. So because the writing is so good on Blue Bloods, I don't have to do anything. I just have to honor the hard work that those writers put into creating life for our characters and depth of history. I can't say that there's any, deep processing, and certainly when things come up that we discuss and I go, I don't even know what that is, some jargon that's NYPD specific, or, I'll do the research. So I'm not an idiot when I show up to rehearsal.
Right.
But so much of it, it's just really all I have to do is show up and be prepared with the script, like understand what we're trying to do in the story and how my character contributes to that. But I can say I've become a better writer since working on the show, only because of Kevin Wade and our writers. Kevin Wade, who created Garrett Moore for those first 2 episodes. I'm not a smart guy. I don't read. I don't think about heady stuff. I'm a regular working class Joe who gets to play this really smart guy. And it's only because the words that come out of my mouth are really smart. But I'm just an actor. But it has rubbed off. I can say that I've developed, it's rubbed off. Kevin Wade's sensibilities for Garrett have come into my own personal life in terms of how I'm able to publicly speak with people and also, writing. It's like, wow, who knew that I could come up with something so, smart sounding, because I'm really not.
I've always been very pro police, and I've been involved over the years doing events with the Memphis Police Association when I had a mattress store here. And, yes, of course, as in any profession, there are always going to be a few bad apples, but, the majority of officers all across the country are just really good people doing their best, when they leave home to protect the people of their city, county, or state, because they never know if they're coming back home that day, and neither does their family. And, together, the Memphis Police Association and my old store, we had 52-foot trailers 3 different times in my parking lot. We got them filled up with supplies, from people of Memphis for hurricane victims in Texas, Louisiana, Florida. And we had events trying to bring the police and citizens closer together. And, sometimes what's not a great atmosphere. Given the show's focus on law enforcement, how do you believe that Blue Bloods contributes to important conversations about police nationwide in situations that they have to deal with and go through each and every day?
It wasn't until we were, into maybe our 2nd season, and then New York police officers are recognizing me and stopping me and thanking me for being on a show that they feel respectfully honors and represents the hardships of being a law enforcement officer. And, my world was not, my dad was an insurance claims adjuster, and he represented like all the greater Michigan sheriff's departments. But my world wasn't about law enforcement growing up. I had a profound respect, but it wasn't a part of my world. And it wasn't till this job that I found a calling, which was advocating for law enforcement officers. And when the first time the FBI LIDA organization said, would you come and speak on a panel to discuss PR and the hardships of society and, let's defund, conflict. It was like, yeah, of course. And then I showed up at this, where was it? I think it was in Memphis. I think the conference was in Memphis.
Oh, wow.
That year, right? Isn't there an abandoned like trolley line that runs near the convention center that takes you to where all the barbecue places are? Yeah, yeah. So however many years, that was 10 years ago, whatever. And then I got to meet law enforcement officers from all over the world, from Australia, the UK, United States. And they were just so grateful that I would take the time to go, you guys are awesome. Please stay the course. I don't know how it breaks my heart how difficult it is to be a law enforcement officer. It's almost thankless. So the idea that by me just showing up at an event like that and glad handing and talking and hearing their stories, and that it means something to them, and all I had to do was be there, and it's only because I'm on a show that they makes them feel heard and seen, that I went, oh, I want to do this every year. And then I started going to the National Police Week events, and Abby and Bob and I present at the NAPO Top Cop Awards during National Police Week. It becomes this whole thing that, we film 8 months out of the year, and then I have 3 months off. And I used to protect those 3 months. I was just home in Los Angeles, stay-at-home dad. My wife got to sleep in. I would feed the boys, get them off to school. But when this whole advocacy for law enforcement thing started manifesting itself in my life, I was like, my wife goes, when I came home from the first FBI LIDA conference, she goes, wow, this is really important for you, isn't it? I went, yeah, I can't, my life has changed. I can't believe how moved I am that I get to be such a simple gesture of support for them, that it can help them get to the next day to do whatever they're doing or deal with hardships and in the line of work. So my wife goes, yeah, okay. She goes, when these things come up, because it was during the months, it was in the late spring of these conferences, and my wife goes, yeah, you can go. You have to go do those things because they're important for you. They're important for all of us. But it was something I never I'm an actor. I'm an actor who loves hearing applause and the sound of his own voice. And because I'm on this cop show that Tom Selleck gave me the gig, it wasn't like I had an agenda. Right. Now I get to do something to help and support law enforcement and first responders, in every line of work. It's a calling, and I'm grateful that it has happened in my life.
You work with several great actors on the show. Some of them you spend a lot of time with, and then some of them you probably don't. Just like you said, sometimes you shoot scenes that you probably don't ever see some of the other people on the show sometimes.
Yeah.
What are Donnie Wahlberg, Lynn Carreyrou, and Bridget Moynihan like, to work with, and then maybe off screen too?
Everybody, there's not a turd in the cast. Everybody is awesome. I would say, like what I learned very early on, Donnie is the sun, and the joy he brings to work, the love that he shares with everyone at the workplace. And when we were first shooting, they had, outside of stage 8, on the days that he would shoot family dinner, there'd be some days over 100 women standing behind a red velvet rope that they set up outside the stage, who were all the New Kids on the Block fans, and we used to call them walnuts. He would, after a long day of filming, he goes out there and personally meets every single fan that stood and waited out there.
Wow.
Takes selfies, hugs them, asks them their name, makes every single person feel completely connected with. And the first time I saw that, I went, okay, that's an incredible human being.
Yeah.
And that's just Donnie. Bridget, the first time we were in the hair and makeup trailer, and Tom and I are at opposite chairs at the opposite end of the trailer, you know, having fun, making some joke. And Bridget comes and sits in a chair between us. And then she lobbed some nugget of just blue humor. It was the first time I'd ever heard. And it was like, I almost fell out of my chair because you're going, oh, Bridget Moynihan, who's, you know, beautiful and a ridiculously talented actress. But you just don't go, oh, she actually can keep up with the boys. Actually, because she laid us to waste in just one little quip. And I went, okay, I've fallen in love with you now. And you know, it's just the case. Len, I've loved and revered since, you know, because he's Sweeney Todd, the original Sweeney Todd on Broadway.
Right.
So just to be able to spend time with him, and just hear him talk about, he's about to do a one-man show, or actually evenings with Maury. He's gonna do an off-Broadway play coming up.
Wow.
You know, the guy's 80 something, and he's just not stopping. Everybody there is so much fun. Vanessa, Will, you know, everybody's positive. Everybody comes to work with gratitude. The people that maybe were sort of like going, oh no, I don't know if I'm happy here anymore, or maybe this is a lot more work than I really want to do right now. Our creative team, the producers, found ways to accommodate everyone as best they could. And when people were still going, I'm still not happy, then they went, okay, we are opening our hand. You are free to go. We'd love you free to stay, but you are free to go and find whatever it is that you are feeling that you need. So the show always respects the actors and as human beings, you know, because sure, we all show up for work, but we're all dealing with, you know, real life crisis in our personal lives, you know, and have to leave a lot of that stuff behind. And when it does creep into the workplace, our executive producers are like beyond the call to support and help and facilitate in any way they can, because they want everyone to stay.
Sure.
But when it's clear that some people would really just be happier if they moved on, they make it happen. And so everybody that's there wants to be there. And I've been on a few toxic sets of other shows in the past, and it's not fun. It's not fun. This workplace is so much fun. But you know, the thing about COVID, I don't know if we talked about this. We actually had to stop our last conversation because I was on strike, right? And I wasn't able to talk about.
We didn't get to do part 2. Yeah, we had to wait.
I couldn't talk about all the work because we were, we had the silent treatment because of the strike. Yeah. I have no idea what I was going to say next. I'm 62, and I kind of like that my brain is empty right now. So apologies that
That's okay.
don't remember what it was.
You're talking about something with COVID.
Oh, right. COVID. When we went from everybody being in the room, tons of, you know, every camera had a dolly grip, a focus puller, a camera operator, a loader, and then we had 3 cameras working, you know, on a set. And then you got your boom people, and you got your script supervisors, and all the properties and the costumes and makeup. There's just it's a beehive of activity to shoot a scene, and everybody's interacting, and everybody's, hey, what's going on? And how's your family? And blah, blah, blah. And then COVID hit. And we were shooting in the commissioner's office with 2 robotic cameras. The boom operator was in a hazmat outfit and sweating. Like you could see the puddle filling his socks and boots because he was like, you know, hermetically sealed so he could be in the room with the 4 actors who weren't wearing masks. And then there were no other humans in that room. They were joystick controlled cameras that moved around really slow. And what we all when we finally went back to work during COVID, we all went, this is horrible. The human interaction that is the real reason we love to come to work. It's the people.
Right.
The job's great. That's fun. But it's the people that you get to work with every day that you fall in love with and that you want to spend time with. And you look forward to waking up in the morning and finding out, what's new. And it all went away. And it was, Tom and Bob and Abby and I, we would sit in our little ante room and waiting, and we go, this is depressing. Like we're sequestered. We actually didn't even physically see any other people. We weren't, there were paths painted into the sound stages so that crew moved into the set through a certain set of doors, and the actors came in through different doors. We had yellow, they had red areas, and we were never ever in any of the same space at the same time. So we were literally, it's like being completely sequestered, like being a monk or working at a nunnery or something. It was so hard. But when everything came back, it was like, yay! It's like
Right.
Snoop tap dancing on the doghouse, because it was like, we need people. We need to hug each other. We need to just shoot the breeze.
See a smile.
Yeah, just connect. It was a revelation to have that taken away. So you ended up with an appreciation for what the real magic of having this job is, which is the people.
Right. Can you share an anecdote or memorable experience that sticks out in your mind, from working with Tom Selleck, and what have you learned from him overall as an actor, a professional in the entertainment industry, and most importantly, I would say now after, over 20 years, a friend?
So what I really love about him is he's completely candid. So you never have to worry what he's thinking. He's unabashedly cuts right to the chase, and not he's just like direct and talk and when it's the work. So we were shooting an episode where I'm looking at the script, and the scene says that Commissioner standing looking out the window, and DCPI walks in and goes and says this sort of poetic diatribe about, when I see you standing there looking down over your minions and blah blah blah, I feel that blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting there with Tom after we were before the rehearsal. I go, Tom, don't you think this is kind of like repetitive? Because if we're going to start seeing you looking out over the city, all of that stuff is inferred, and then I come in and then articulate it. It's just like, it's repetitive, don't you think? Like I don't need to say that. I should come right in and start with the meat and potatoes of the conflict, not observing my boss in his pensive state.
Sure.
And he looks at me, and I didn't realize what I'd done yet. He goes, yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, let's get Kevin, Kevin Wade over, and let's get whoever wrote that episode. Let's bring him over, and I think you should bring that up. So I bring the same thing up, and they all, and I didn't realize yet, but they all like went, and then they looked at Tom, and they went, yeah, okay, we could try it both ways, I suppose. And I'm going, why is everybody so like on eggshells about this? And then so we shoot it, and we do it. Actually, we shot it where I came in and still said that diatribe, because we knew editorially, you could see me come in, we look at him, you cut back to me. If we decide to cut that, well, ultimately in the final edit, they cut that speech out, and we ended up doing exactly what my gut was telling me was something we needed to do. Well, we're shooting that scene, we're shooting all of Tom's close-ups. When we turned around to shoot my stuff, he and I are sitting back in the back room. He goes, I have to tell you something. I went, okay. He goes, that speech that you wanted to cut, I added that. And I went, oops. I'm going, oh, I'll be getting my walking papers. But he just said, that was my idea. He goes, I heard it. or I read it and I thought, oh, I'd love to get this in the show. And this is where I thought it belonged. And he goes, I just need you to know that that was me, not them. That was me. And then I went, oh, that's why they're all like going,
Right.
Tom's going, yeah, Greg would like to talk to you about something. But no one's going, wait, Tom, that was your idea. No one owned up to it, right? But I felt, there was care in handling me about it. He ultimately realized he needed to fess up so that I could understand why everybody got a little kind of, oogly boogly. And then I felt really vindicated, not vindicated. I felt validated that in the final edit, they went with my suggestion. But I also learned that day, no more notes on script. Right. I'm not gonna question anything because I have no idea whose toes I'm gonna be stepping on.
Yeah, let them do the editing if they want to do the editing.
Let them do their job. Don't pretend I'm no writer. But it was a fun little, encounter that I survived and realized, oh, maybe I do have ideas.
That's funny. That's really funny.
But they were so kind in how all of them handled it. It was really
right. Have there been any particular storylines or episodes involving, Garrett Moore that have resonated with you personally? And if so, why?
Yeah. There was an episode where Garrett was dealing with his stepson, who was an ex-college hockey player who was addicted to painkillers.
Oh, the one that was in prison.
And he was in prison. Yeah. And my wife and kids happened to be on set that day. And I really had to really rip into the scene into this stepson of mine. And when it was over, my oldest son, who then, how old would he have been? Maybe 8, maybe 8 years old. He goes, Dad, I have to admit, I got really scared when you were doing that scene because he goes, I know that voice. He goes, I know you were really mad because I believed you. It was like, oh, thanks. But he thought, but it was like it might have been a little bit of might have terrorized him a little. Same thing happened with the Billy Elliot, the musical. We got to invite our families to come to the rehearsal run through of the first act. And in the first act, my character, the dad, cold cocks his older son and like brutally hits him. And it's a very emotionally painful moment of failure, in terms of the relationship and the father surrendering to, anger. And the rehearsal ends and my son, who then might have been, how old would he have been? Maybe 6. He comes to me and goes, Dad, why did you hit Santino Fontana, the actor who plays, and it didn't even dawn on me that my kid at 6 years old isn't, able to differentiate this fantasy thing, or that, Dad's stage fighting is really quite good. But, and we did a nice job, clobbering this guy. But it was like, oh, I never thought of that. But like my kids, as my oldest, the things that he had to, because his dad's an actor, and the things that he has had to process that never dawned on me. Granted, they're not surfing porn. They're not, we control all their digital media as children.
That's great.
But it never dawned on me that him being on set when I'm screaming and yelling, or I just didn't think that far ahead to go, oh, this could be upsetting for him. And, but he's an amazing kid, survived my parenting. Thank God for his mother. That's all I'm saying. Now he's a commercial pilot, 22 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Madly in love with an amazing woman from Sao Paulo who's a biomed major. He survived. He's doing
definitely
great.
Survived. One thing I remember about that scene when you were yelling at your stepson behind the bars, after all that yelling at the very end, you still fist bumped each other through the bars. It's like, I'm mad at you and everything, but hey, I still love you. That this sticks out in
Yeah.
my mind. I have a vivid, I remember everything. So I just remember,
Clearly.
yes, I remember that fist bump through the bars and everything after you'd screamed at him, and that was just like, okay, I still love you, so obviously you did. Great acting there.
Great writing.
Yeah.
The acting comes easy.
How have you stayed grounded and maintain your mental health amidst the glamour and pressures of the entertainment industry? They're obviously are there.
I'm gratefully, so by contrast, when I worked with Julie Andrews on Victor Victoria, she couldn't stop out at the stage door because there'd be 1,000 people waiting to just say hi, tell her how much she means to them, get a signature, a selfie. She would have to go open the door, get right into a car, and just leave because there's no way she could engage all these people that love her and want just a moment to connect, right? And it broke her heart that was a necessity because she sings the entire show. She's in her 60s and she can't be gabbing with 1,000 people for 4 hours after the show out in the cold. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an existence where everywhere you go, people want to, they want to go, I love you. You're great. The wonderful thing about even me in this Blue Bloods life is that I'm still pretty much invisible. The second season, Tom Selleck says, he goes, it's different now, isn't it? And I went, what? He goes, everywhere you go, people are clocking you. They recognize you. And I go, yeah. He goes, think about it. He goes, look at your entire theater history. Think about every show you did, how many seats are in the house, how many performances, and then round up like 100,000 people. How many people do you come? And I said, maybe 5 million people. My entire career, 5. He goes, yeah, 5 million people have all sat between 25 and 150 feet away from you, live on stage. Your face is this big. You're wearing makeup. You're in a whole other thing. You can walk out the stage door and nobody knows who you are.
Right.
And it was like, yeah. He goes, but now your face is in every home in America, and your head is the size of their TV screen. And there's this new sort of ownership they have because you're a part of their world now. And he goes, that's what's different. And it was like, yeah. But the upside is people are really, really respectful. Except we were on a cruise and my wife and my 2 sons, we were waiting for the dining room to open so we could go be seated. And there were a couple of women in their 60s, 70s who were huge fans. They were all the way across the lobby of all these people who were packed at the doors waiting to go in. They pushed people aside to get to me. They pushed my wife and kids out of the way.
Oh my God.
To say, and I was like standing up on maybe a stair or two, slightly higher than the rest of the lobby area. And they said, we love you. We love your show. I said, I'm sorry. That's my wife and kid that you just pushed out of the way. I'm not here for you. I'm here to be with my family. And I can't talk to you because that's unacceptable behavior. So, it was a great opportunity because the whole 150 people that are waiting to go in, witness this. And I didn't scold. I just went, I'm sorry. I can't. I can't do this. And it was great because then we were able to really be left alone, which was wonderful. And my wife, said, and you have to do it. No, you don't have to do it. But my wife lets me do it. She goes, yeah, on the last day, because, we walked through that dining room and everybody's going, oh, there's Garrett Moore. Oh, look at his kids. Da, da, da. And, we have a rule that in a restaurant, I have to sit facing the room now. We used to sit with my back to the room in hopes that, we wouldn't get ogled, right? But all my kids are going, man, Dad, everybody's just staring at us. And they're facing the room and seeing everybody staring at the family. So the new deal was I have to sit with my face and deal with all that. But when we're on a cruise, my wife goes, last day, last dinner, we'll all go. The boys and I will go back to the room, and you got 45 minutes to shake hands, take selfies, da da da. But you have, she goes 45 minutes. Get the hell out. But it's sort of like it's a real privilege that people get excited. It's not unlike the gratitude that I have to advocate for law enforcement because it means so much. It's and it's, I'm nothing special. I just happen to get this gig, and I know how to make words sound like they're coming out of my noggin. That's it. That's my bag. But it means so much to these people, and it's not that hard to devote a little bit of time. But for the most part, in public, anywhere, people just leave us alone, and it's really nice.
When you said that when Tom was talking to you about it different now, you talked about you probably being in front of about 5 million people in your career. In your first episode, you probably eclipsed that. But just the one.
It was like
first
10
episode.
or 12 million.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing,
Yeah.
how many. So, I mean, and obviously the numbers are still great even today, still right at those, close to those same numbers.
I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but if our numbers are really good, these first couple episodes, I know that there's a push to try and flesh out the back half of like the spring of 2025 to add, because right now we're doing 18 episodes.
Right.
And we're under 300 total. And Tom's got something going on. He's going, he literally goes, I got a couple of tricks in my bag that I'm going to present to the network. But, he goes, there's no reason we couldn't, if the numbers are good,
right,
we could do another 8 or 10 episodes so that the 24-25 season was a complete
season.
That
would be really awesome.
So I think I can say without teasing anyone that is something that's being considered. I don't know, how many mountains would have to be moved in order for that to happen. There was also the issue of, people with their lives after, because we finished shooting this season end of June. So we'd have to take a couple months off for hiatus because people have other things. I'm directing a feature film. There's a bunch of things going on. So whether we could all actually get back together to start again, say in October, which is a possibility. But, it's not simple. But there's a little bit of hope that it's a possibility.
How have you been able to balance your personal life, with what I'm sure has been, a demanding acting career sometimes?
I'm not really good at it. So I came to New York in 82, graduated in 86. I was a working actor, primarily stage, but did commercials in a couple of movies. And then I was after, what was it? It was after Victor Victoria. I did Chicago. I played Billy Flynn. I replaced Jimmy Naughton in Chicago, summer of 97. And then I was only being seen for leading roles, but I was losing out all the parts to big celebrity actors who had their own TV series or movie stars, right? And people that were getting straight offers to play lead roles in these musicals. And I was like going, I have to go. I have to go to Los Angeles and get some more TV and film credits so I can come back and do more Broadway shows, which is literally what happened. I guested on Friends in their final season. It was an episode that caught fire and got re-aired in like highlights reels of that final season. It got tons of play. And it was that exposure that when I went to audition down in San Diego for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and I'm looking at the call sheet of all the guys who are coming in for the role of Andre, the police inspector, literally my name was the only name that I didn't recognize. Everybody was a celebrity. Everybody was, and several said offer only. Like they're not even coming into audition. It's like, yeah, I'll do this role, but you just have to offer it to me. And so what was the point of that story? What were we talking about? I love being old.
About balancing your life, personal
Oh,
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so the thing is, so then suddenly we're back in New York while I'm doing a Broadway show before my kids are in grade school. So we're all living here. And it was great. But then the kids started school back home at a Waldorf school, a half a mile from our house, paid for by our taxes. And it was like, okay, that's this, my kids are in an environment where they're thriving. my wife can and does run the show, but she can do it, and I'll be commuting. But Billy Elliot, um, my high school friend Joe Alki, he was staying with us. He lives up in Sausalito, and he was staying with us. And the phone call came from my agent about Billy Elliot. We were waiting to find out whether I got the part or not. And so my wife and I are standing on opposite sides of the bed in the main bedroom with the phone on speakerphone, and my agent saying, "Okay, they've offered you the job." And Joe's down the hall on the island in the kitchen, right? And Julie immediately starts sobbing, and not because it was joy, it was because uh, the reality was here's a job I have to take. It's an important job, but it means I'm going to be away from my family for the majority of, at least a year, if not longer.
Right.
I'll only see them on like this video time, or when they're on vacation from school. And we come walking out of the back room, and Joe Aki goes, "Okay, this is not how I expected a family to react when they found out he just got the lead role in the hottest new musical on Broadway. You two look like somebody died." And it was like, well, yeah, that's the reality.
Right.
So what has been great is that I started my career in New York. We live in LA. I've never had to say goodbye to New York City. Work has always brought me back. The balance was, I lost 85 pounds about 5 years ago. And that was because every night I'm out with friends, late night dinners, drinking, having the time of my life, because we have a whole world of that was my life before Blue Bloods. And so there was no, shortage of people to go and have a blast with. But it was like, as I started getting heavier and heavier, and realizing also I was lonely. I didn't enjoy being away from
Sure.
my wife and boys. So you just end up burning the candle at both ends. And you finally just actually there was a fan who reached out, Sonny Raposo. His real name is Ron. The episode premiere, the season premiere aired, and I was clearly the heaviest I've ever been. And I get a text from this person I don't know who said, I want to share something with you about a weight loss thing that I did. Unsolicited, like it wasn't something I'd known. It was just somebody who saw me, and he went, "I know what's going on here, and I can't not say something." So he reached out, and a lady in the organic grocery store, I'm standing there with a quart of whole raw milk for my kid for his cereal.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Greg, but I was going to tell you, I have this to talk about, and at the end, this exact story, and if you're okay with it, and like I said, I'm not trying to interrupt you, I'd love to read about it, because it's important, because it's sort of with me and my life too, and my struggle with weight.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you at all. I apologize, but it's
all
these. Yeah, it's perfect, because I want to tell that whole story at the end.
Sure. Terrific.
Because it's a wonderful story, and I think everybody should hear the full thing and everything, if that's okay with you.
I'm totally down with that. Thanks.
And I was going to tell you also the Friends episode. After I interviewed the first time, my mom called me within a week, and she goes, "Oh my God, I just saw Gregory Jbara. He was on Friends. I didn't even realize," because she watches all the repeats of them, because they're on everywhere and everything. But she saw you on there, much lighter hair,
right, or darker
hair, excuse me.
Yeah,
and everything. And she said, "Yeah, just recognize you on there and everything." I said, "No, he's just, like I said, lots of guest roles throughout your career." So I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just would love to, if I could, to save that story for the end, because it's really, really good.
You bet.
All right, thank you so much for that. How have you approached collaborating with other actors, not just on Blue Bloods, but anything you've been on, filmmakers over your career? And what makes in your mind, a successful working relationship for you?
It's clearly mutual respect, right? And in this industry, there's sort of a known protocol that other actors don't give other actors notes. it's the director who nurtures actors to get to where they need to be in a performance, whether they're a guest star or a series regular. So when that order of communication is respected, even if the writers have an idea, if a writer goes, I think he's not reading that line right, they still go to the director. The director takes that note and brings it to the actor. So because that structure is really respected, everybody feels safe in the workplace. So everybody's capable of maybe taking some creative risks. And if they're really out in left field, they know that they'll get reined back in, to a place that serves the storytelling. But I don't, it's really about, we've had a couple of guest stars who feel that, and not out of, but they just believe that they have ideas for everybody.
Sure.
And they want to share them. And it's kind of like, okay, all right. And then you hopefully hear, a director or the first AD is witnessing this encounter, and then it kind of gets, massaged away. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that this person goes, yeah, great idea, but we'll let the director, worry about that and the camera angle and that kind of thing. So I think I'm trying to think. Well, I worked with. Can we talk about Oppenheimer?
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to bring that up. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, you can talk about. Go ahead and talk about it, please.
The luxury of working with such an amazing, diverse array of leaders, creative leaders, directors. I go, oh, my job is only to know my words, hit my mark. And there's a person who worries about whether I have a booger. There's somebody else worrying about whether my tie is crooked. Everybody else is worried about all these other things. My only job is to just say the words and make them sound organic. And then I don't have to worry about anything else. Everybody else will take care of everything else. And once you surrender to that, what's amazing is there are a lot of, people in life, have voices of insecurity in their head. And if you're an actor working on, on anything, a TV show, a stage show, I've worked with actors who they clearly are incapable of simply taking a note and going, okay, I'll try that. There's like so much fear of it being wrong, and that that it's going to make them look stupid if they do it. And there on the show, and the person will remain nameless, but there were hours wasted with a director and an actor debating a simple little note. I'd like you to say it like this and then cross here. And he would, instead of just doing it and go, oh, that's a good choice, or do it and then the director can go, oh, I was out of my mind. Okay, yeah, do it the way you were doing it. Instead, you waste 15, 20 minutes debating it and why you should or shouldn't do it. And there's a lot of that in this industry and I just go, it's clearly, it's people are just afraid of exposing themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of being thought of as untalented or having an inability to do what the mystery of their acting life is, and I've seen it in like the biggest stars, and I've seen it in the most, newbie, hardworking ensemble actors. Right. It's gratefully, I don't know how I dodge that. I don't have the monkey on my back. That's the insecurity, the I'm not worthy thing. At least I'm not aware of it.
Right.
So, I consider myself lucky because it's really pretty prevalent. It's easy to get sucked into insecurity, and
it definitely is. Do you have a favorite film or performance by another actor in your life that really sticks out, and why does it resonate with you if you do?
There are so many wonderful nuggets on so many different films. Like there's, I don't, I'm not a big cinephile. Um, I will say, here's what I'll say. Edge of Tomorrow, Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise, is by far my favorite sci-fi action romantic comedy ever. And I think everybody on that film is brilliant. And it's my go-to movie. Like if
I've
I'm
never seen it.
flying back and forth, you watch it.
Okay.
It's Groundhog Day on acid.
Okay.
And it's Tom Cruise is a phenomenal action hero, but so funny and vulnerable in this. And we fall in love with him, with Emily Blunt. Like everybody falls in love with Emily Blunt. And so all the struggle of the storyline, you're right there with them, rooting for them. It's so well crafted. He's great at that. And I just think she hung them out. Emily Blunt.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that for sure. Yeah, it's a
great movie. Bill Paxton.
Oh yeah, great actor.
Yeah, just a really Gleason. Who's the Irish actor that always works with McDonough? Sure. Anyway, he plays like the admiral. Or
right.
It's a great movie and terrifying.
Besides the interaction with those quote unquote fans on the cruise ship, have there been any particularly memorable interactions with this that's had a lasting impression with you?
It kind of happens every day. People will just 2 days ago, yesterday, I landed, and then I go to Whole Foods to buy my organic greens, and I'm standing at the sushi bar, and Lauren, who works for the NYPD, through Cameo, she had me do a shout out to her husband because they're both big Blue Bloods fans, and she was just, she just like real casually walked up and just stood next to me while I was waiting, and then it was clear that she's standing a little closer than someone who's waiting in line, and then she goes, you did a Cameo video for my husband and blah blah blah, and we just had the nicest talk, and she just so appreciated it, and we laughed, and it was I got to learn a little bit more about her because all I knew was the things that they wanted me to mention in the video, and she knew Paul J. Brown, who was the actual DCPI under Commissioner Kelly when I started on Blue Bloods. He's a very dear friend who I owe a visit, actually, now that I think about that. So we had a world of people that I really loved that she knew as well. And it was just like, oh, this, and once the conversation had run its course, she moved on. And it was just like, oh, that's nice. How lucky am I that, she doesn't realize what a jerk I am, that she feels comfortable enough to come up and say hi, and that I'm not going to scream her head off and throw my raw salmon in her face.
Yeah, and there's that. I guess I have a friend of mine who's, fortunately, he's a working actor. He actually was on the final season, I think, of season 12, and he worked with Vanessa. He was a bad guy, big bulky guy with long hair named David Calloway, and he was in a few scenes, and he got tackled in a department store. He's trying to steal some stuff, and he was on the fine. And he was calling me. He's like, "Oh, I'm in the studio, Blue Bloods," and how cool, because he knows how much of a fan I am of the show and everything. And he tells me that you have to act like you've already been there, and you don't go up to when you're an actor like he is, you don't go up to someone like Tom Selleck and say, "Oh my God, I'm the biggest fan in the world." You know what I mean? You have to be real careful because you want to act like you've already been there.
Yeah.
And it was sort of, and I met Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. They were here in the late 80s filming Great Balls of Fire. He was dating Meg Ryan at the time. And we went into this, I was with a friend of mine, and we went into this, the New Daisy Theater on the famous Beale Street here. And there was a blues show, and I saw him walk through the line, and his hair was bleached, looking like Jerry Lee Lewis.
Right.
And we were downstairs looking, didn't see him. And there's a small balcony upstairs. We walk upstairs, and they're just sitting next to each other. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to bother them. My friend immediately approaches them, and and he starts talking to him. And Dennis was so nice. He's like, yeah, Meg just got into town. We're sort of just hanging out, relaxing. And he was very subtle way of saying, okay, we sort of want to be left alone. And he was very nice about it. We got both of their autographs. I recognized her because she had been in Top Gun 2 years earlier in '86.
Right.
And got their autographs. And then my friends started trying to talk to them about guitars, and I just pulled him away. I said, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I'll never forget Dennis Quaid winking at me, like basically saying, thank you, because, he was nice about it. They could have said, hey, we don't have time for an autograph or anything like that. But he gave us a couple of minutes, and then it was like, hey, we're sort of here just to relax. But I just remember that from 30 plus years ago. And I was a young kid then. So that was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Pivot and talk about Oppenheimer. What a fantastic movie. It was so good that I remember getting on my stationary bike to ride it. I usually ride it for hour and a half. And when I started it, I honestly didn't get off until the movie was over. I always have the time on the bike covered by a towel, and just got lost in such a good movie that, for 3 hours,
3 hours
riding the bike. I mean, 8 nominations at the Golden Globe Awards, winning the leading 5 of them, including Best Motion Picture Drama. How did you get the role of Senator Magnuson in the movie? And tell us about maybe some of your upcoming film roles, which I believe include the movies Alien Intervention and A Ramble Towards Rain. Please.
So actually I filmed all 3 of those movies at the same summer of 22. Yeah. And that was March, end of March, I think, is when I literally, 6 months before then, my agent in LA goes, Christopher Nolan's doing a movie. These are the sides for people they want to see to play, congressmen and senators. So here's the scene. And I read the scene, and I'm thinking, man, this is really good writing. Like, this is really good writing. And I got really excited about it. And I did 2 completely different takes on the character of the senator who's talking to a reporter. And I felt really good about, the self-tape. And then I sent it to him. And then once you do that, then it's got to be out of mind. You know what I mean? You just have to let it go. You can't sit around wondering. And it was 6 months later that my agent called and said, okay, they want to hire you to play the chairman, Senate hearing chairman. I went, what? And I went, do I get to do that scene that I read? Do I get to do that scene? Because that scene was amazing. And he went back to casting. I said, no, Greg won't be doing that scene. So I'm here. Dear friend who runs the Inspire Theater in my hometown of Westland, Michigan. He goes, so what's it like, self-taping? What's that whole thing? I said, funny you should ask. I just booked a role on Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan's next movie, from a self-tape. I'm sending you the link so you can see what I did for the self-tape. He watches and texts back. He goes, Charlie Wilson's War is my favorite movie. And it didn't register. I was like going, wait, did he just hit his head? I told him it was Oppenheimer. And I go, wait, what? He goes, that scene that you auditioned, that's from Charlie Wilson's War. And I go, it is? He goes, yeah, hold on. And then he brings up the DVD at home, takes his phone, videos a clip and sends it to me. He goes, yeah, look, this is the scene with, Seymour Hoffman and Tom Hanks. And I went, oh, that's right. Oppenheimer, Nolan doesn't let the scripts out. No one's going to see a script. You audition with fake sides. so they can find out whether they like, what you're bringing. So
Oh,
I thought, oh man, what a disappointment. But I need to be in a Christopher Nolan movie.
right.
And turns out I ended up working with, oh, well, the book dates were like 3 weeks after we were to finish that season of Blue Bloods. So plenty of room, plenty of time for me to finish, go back to LA for a bit, and then fly to Santa Fe. Well, Nolan was moving so fast that the 3 week lead time became two, became one, became, it was overlapping. The day they needed me boots on the ground in New Mexico 48 hours before the actual day I'm scheduled to start filming, in case they're a day faster, they need me there. And I'm going, like, I'm shooting the last two scenes of the season finale on that day. I can't. And for a week, I thought I was going to have to not, I was going to have to let this go, that I had an honor to, to Blue Bloods,
Right.
that I couldn't just go and, well, Santiago Quinones, our production coordinator, when we were doing the machinations of trying to work out the schedule, which is like the worst telephone game in the world. It's the producer on Oppenheimer talking to their casting office, talking to the agent in my agent in LA that handles that movie, talking to my agent in New York that handles Blue Bloods, talking to the casting office at Blue Bloods, who talks to our production coordinator. And I got an email from Santiago. He goes, Greg, do I have your permission to just take everybody out of the equation? And I'm just going to call their production coordinator directly. Because he goes, I know I can make this happen. And I went, yes, please. Because he was like going, we're so excited that you're going to be in this movie. We want to make sure you get to do this movie. And it was like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, it came right down to the wire. 3 days before, they ended up pushing my final days one day earlier. They cut me from one scene that I really didn't have to be in. And the coordinator on the film said, no, there are no flights from New York to have him in New Mexico, Albuquerque or Santa Fe, 48 hours before. And Santiago said, oh, yes, there is. I already have him a seat booked on JetBlue. He'll be on the ground before midnight, 2 days before he films. And they went, all right. So it was a job that almost went away. And then, but I ended up, I got to do it. And it was 3 days of filming over 9 days because, sitcoms, some movies, theater for sure. You might do a full cast table read before you start filming or rehearsing, right? And on the day before I start filming, the next morning, on my call sheet, it said a script read from noon to 5 o'clock. And I went, oh man, this will be great. We're all going to sit in a room and read the script together. And the PAs and everybody, they're all just so, his crew, everybody's just so on point. And noon comes and goes, and then it's 12:15, and I text one of the PA. I go, so what are we going to do the table read? He goes, oh, it's not a table read. These are the 5 hours allocated for you to read the script. If you're ready, we'll send over a PA with a security envelope. It opens, you sign a thing, time stamping it, and then they sit outside your trailer while you read the script. And then you give it all back. And it was like, oh, wow, okay. So did all that. The next morning, get up at it was like 4:30 in the morning to be there on set. And actually, it might have been that might have been the morning that I read the script, because we were going through all hair and makeup, do final stuff. And I'd already been fitted months before when they first hired me. Because they went, well, can you come out on this week? I said, no, I'm in New York filming. They said, well, can you come tomorrow? And I went, yeah, I'll be there at Universal tomorrow. I'll be there. So I was fitted. I think I was the first senator who had a fitting. So I get on all the actors are on the call sheet are just first name only. It's first name, no last names. And we're all wearing COVID masks, right? And I'm on the van, and this actor climbs in and his eyes look kind of familiar. And I go, I knew that Tim DeKay and I were called at the same time. So I said, Tim. And he goes, Greg, man, good to see you. And I'm going, wait, in my brain, I'm going, wait, who, what? And it's Tim DeKay, who's an actor who he and I always auditioned for the same stuff in LA. And during Billy Elliot, when his kids were really little, they came to the show and I gave him a backstage tour. And he's a really sweetheart of a guy and a really great actor. But it was like, I went, he goes, I said, wait, Tim DeKay. Oh my God. He goes, yeah, you didn't know that we were working together? And I go, no, I mean, it's only first names on the call sheet. He goes, oh, when I did my costume fitting, everybody's headshots were up on the wall. So I got to see all the actors who were playing all the different parts. And I saw you and Harry Groner and David Hauska and Ted King, all of us speaking senators. He goes, yeah, I knew who we were all going to be working with. I went, oh yeah, I didn't know because I almost had to turn the job down. But it ended up being working with guys who I've known forever and we'd never worked together. And you're working on a Christopher Nolan movie on a set, which is the actual historic Capitol building, which is now a museum in Santa Fe. And we're in the actual Senate hearing chambers. And the entire room is lit to be shot 360 because in the story, there are rotoscope and film cameras covering the hearing. So there's lighting equipment. They wisely lit the room with the lighting equipment, these old big, they look like kettle drums with, magnesium, filaments in them, although they weren't. But it was like, so that they could, when they came in to shoot, it was just Nolan holding an overstuffed script in his arm. Van Hoytema was operating the camera. They had a dolly grip and a boom operator with the boom mic. Everything else was like we had microphones like placed in front of us at all the desks, so everybody was well mic'd, hidden. You wouldn't see any of it. But when they finally, and they did it chronological order, so they followed Robert and I love being 462. Scott Grimes and Han Solo, who are just great guys. I mean, great guys. But they shot all that coming into the room where they reveal the Senate hearing, and then they cut to another, storyline. But they came in and they were just moving so fast. Like they would just go, all right, we're going to grab this here now, and then we're going to grab that like that, and then we're going to let's just turn around and go this way, and we're going to shoot that and have you do those lines. And in a big star movie, everybody has trailers and everybody has stand-ins, and when they cut, everybody gets up and leaves and goes relax, while stand-ins come in and sit in their place. There was none of that. Everybody stayed in their chair. Everybody. Nobody got up to leave. Nobody was more important than anyone else. Everybody stayed. We all went to school on Nolan and Hoytema, and it was amazing to witness. One of the exchanges my character has with Robert Downey Jr.'s character toward the end, he goes, "I want you to do it like you're spanking him, like you're young teenage kid." We're like, really just spank him with those words. So I did a take that he goes, that's exactly what I want. However, instead of doing it in this amount of time, can you do it in this amount of time? and I went, that is such a good note. Yes, I can. Because I was doing all this, faces and acting and hemming and hawing and working with the files and
right.
Like going, I really just need you to say the words as written. And then, then you go back and start watching the Nolan films and you realize he loves dialogue that just tumbles. No pensive, silent, pregnant pauses unless it's, important and meaningful, because there's a lot of magic on Cillian Murphy's face in that film, in all of them. But it was great. It was great. Oh, and the other thing is, it was the first days that they were shooting on this special made Kodak black and white IMAX film. They'd never been made before. So Kodak made this special black and white film. And, Panavision has all these, they have production trailers that are mobile development labs. So when a film's on location, they can shoot on film and then develop it in this lab, and then they can have the dailies immediately available that day. Well, none of these mobile labs are capable of handling this new format of black and white film that's never been used before. So after a full day of work, all that film had to be private jetted back to the lab in LA, developed overnight, then flown back to Santa Fe, and they weren't able to watch the dailies till the end of the second day. So we'd always have a day off after a day of filming. So it was really luxurious. And the most fun was we're all, the five of us, Alden Ehrenreich, that's the actor's name. We were all in the lobby bar, having dinner, chicken sandwiches and beers. And Hoyta comes in, because we're all staying in the same hotel. He comes in, at the end of a full day, and he sees us. He comes over and goes, we just watched the dailies. He goes, it's amazing. He goes, it's so beautiful. He goes, it looks better than we ever could have imagined. And it was like to see his joy, just it was infectious. It was so much fun. It was a treat. And I still I've watched the movie 3 times now. Once on 70 millimeter and then twice in IMAX. And every time I watch it, I feel like I'm outside watching it. Like I don't consider myself a part of the movie.
Right.
I go, oh, that's right. That's me. Oh, right. But I'm, the movie is so spectacular. I just can't believe that I got to be just a small part, No,
it was amazing. Like I said, I got lost in, I don't ever remember riding my stationary bike for 3 hours in one sitting ever. I mean, I just wasn't even paying attention. I was just riding, watching the movie. Next thing I know, I pulled the towel off and it's over, and it's like 3 hours. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. But
and then were you crippled for a couple of days?
That was part of the time. Drinking no water, just drinking diet caffeine free root beer. And
oh my.
Yeah. So those were issues. But I learned really quickly. Got to drink a lot of water. Yeah.
Drink. Yeah.
Not good.
Dun, 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 dun.
There you go. Exactly.
All day, every day. Yeah.
What has the whole experience of being on such a huge network show that has a combination of drama, humor, and a strong family with the Reagans, for the last 13 years been like for you, if you could sum it up?
So to pretend that I had some agenda and, forethought, and that I was planning to have this trajectory would be a lie. The fact that I am where I am today, about to say goodbye to the greatest gig I've ever had. It's been wonderful to understand the machine, and I use that lovingly, of the CBS network, and how, as a theater actor, realizing Les Moonves, who's no longer with CBS, but Les Moonves, who started as an actor with Tom Selleck as a contract player at Fox, that he understood the value of trained staged actors and knew that if we do the Tony Awards, we get to see all the new talent that's coming through. And then he goes, and then I have, first we go see the shows, we get dibs on, we can go, oh, that person would be great for this next new series we got to do. And what I realized was he is so savvy in going, I want to control that talent pool and get first dibs. And by doing the award ceremonies, and which, doesn't make them money at all,
right,
but it does access them to showcase actors who most of America have no idea even exist. You know what I mean? No, people don't go to see Broadway shows anymore. So it's I've come to be grateful for the dedication that CBS has in nurturing the transition for artists to get into television on some level, from all walks, from stand-up comedy to the stage, composing. They really, it reminds me of when I was in elementary school band, and first became aware when the junior high band teacher would come visit us to keep us excited about being a musician, because he really wanted us in the junior high program. When you're in junior high, the high school band director coming, and the theater people all coming and seeing your work in the earlier schools to go, we want you to come do this for us too. And it's like, it gives you focus, and it gives you aspiration. And it's just wonderful to see that CBS, sure, it's all about money.
Sure.
I mean, but they're creating opportunities for artists to be seen on a major network. And I'm very impressed by that. I never really understood that part of it, and have made tremendous friends of like the big old school guys, from the Leonard Goldberg, that whole crew, the Les Moonves. There's a bunch of those guys that all came in, they were old school TV, who ran all the marketing, did all the developmental. I mean, these are guys who have been, around, and they all started as actors or radio personalities, and then found their way into producing, creative content. And the commute that I do for work from JFK to LAX, I've ridden on the plane with execs at CBS and had the best conversations. Then we'll go have dinner, or just because they're really big, important people. But when they engage me, it's like, no, man, you're family. You're one of us. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
That really exists. It's really, I'm grateful. It's very special. I'll miss it.
Leonard Goldberg was amazing.
Oh, the sweetest man. The sweetest man. And very, iconic man. The shows that he put on, from Fantasy Island to Charlie's Angels to, I mean, all of it. And he was the king of the establishing shot. We're gonna helicopter outside the building that we're gonna be moving into, the outside exterior shot. We were doing those for a while. Tom tries to get rid of those. Tom goes, look, I know it's a great convention, but he goes, the audience knows us already. We can start in the office. People are going to know where we are.
Right.
And if they don't know, then the writing is in trouble. So, but, and Tom goes, I'd rather we had a few more lines in the room helping tell the story, as opposed to taking 5 seconds to do an aerial shot over 1 pp. That was something I was never aware of before. It's fascinating. He invited me once to sit in the editing suite with him when he was cutting one of our episodes pre-COVID. And it is so like minutia, like little, frame changes, or going, wait, that's not, where's the take where this all happened? And then the editor's going, oh, let me pull up some other folders. Well, let's see if we can't find that take. Is it this one? No, that's not it. And I'm sitting on a couch behind them. They're in chairs, comfy swivel chairs at the editing console. And I can remember nodding off and feeling bad because, I got to watch the maestro, but actually both of them, do their magic. And I'd never really been privy to the machinations of the final edit on the episode. So I felt privileged, but I went and they, hey, you want to stay and then we'll go have dinner at Elio's? And I'm like, I think I'm going to go now before I drool on myself, fall asleep again.
What are the most important lessons that you've learned in life? I know there's many. Yeah.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
It's not that I learned it from my parents, that nobody's entitled to anything. Hard work is rewarded. Kindness is sought out. And I always, whenever I do master classes with students, I go, the people that keep working are the people who, when they walk in the door, you can tell that they're comfortable in their own skin, that they're not going to have a heart attack or have a low self-esteem, which is immediately apparent in a lot of really, really talented artists who just literally implode at the audition. And I've always said, when they're casting something, they're going to see 10 guys, all of whom would be perfect. But the decision of who they're going to hire is going to be, who's the person we don't have to worry about? Who's the person that we don't have to go, oh my gosh, we're going to have to hold their hand? Or, man, they don't know how to just close their mouth and listen. Those seem like such simple things. But ultimately, I can remember my auditions for Billy Elliot, and the maybe total of 5 or 6 hours in my 2 sessions with Stephen Daldry and I'm 62. Julian Weber, the assistant director. What I came to realize is they already knew I could do it. They already knew that I have the ability to do the role. Now we're just hanging because they're trying to figure out, do we want to be working with you for a year? Right? And are you able to be selfless enough, because there are 26 children in this show. And the most important thing is protecting those children and making them feel safe and lifting them up and celebrating the magic they bring every night in performance. Are you the person who's able to not make it about you? And that was probably the most concise example of me going, oh, that's what this is about. It's really, they already know I can sing it, I can dance it, I'm funny. They took all their direction and they loved it. But now they're like going, we need a patriarch who's going to be there, 24/7, who will keep the culture. And it was a real tremendous honor when they finally said, you're the guy. You'll be doing, we think we think you should be the guy. And it was like, wow, that's validation.
Yep. Greg, the last thing I want to do is read something that you wrote about 4.5 years ago that's very powerful. It's long, but all of it is worth reading. And then I'd love for you to comment on it with one last question at the end, if you would, please. It says, October 18th, 2019, learning from loved ones and the power of unsolicited advice from strangers. In 2017, my then 16-year-old 6'4" son made a life-changing decision to join a gym and hire a trainer to educate himself about better eating and to transform his then large football lineman-esque physique into that of a matinee idol. He was completely self-motivated to change how he looked in order to feel better about himself and improve his relationship with food. In early 2018, when my excessive 268-pound heavy was visible, apparent on the TV screen, a Blue Bloods fan initiated a private, brief, non-intrusive dialogue with me on Facebook Messenger, extolling the immense personal benefits garnered from a recent weight loss regimen. The most resonant benefit being an investment in spending many more years on this earth with their loved ones. They also expressed concerns of having overstepped, making clear they were motivated to reach out about their own personal success and compassion for my well-being. Around the same time, while standing in line at the organic grocery with a quart of raw milk hanging from my right hand, I could hear a woman behind me share a pointed explanation about how she turned all of her husband's health issues around with a clean organic diet devoid of red meat, carbs, and dairy. Turning to see her compelling conversation more clearly, I was surprised and almost offended to realize she was talking to me. She was a complete stranger. I defended the milk, explaining it was for my youngest son's cereal habit. She acknowledged and continued on about the virtues of her household's new food regimen. I could not help but hear her. I even thanked her for her candor, revealing having just related unsolicited conversation on Facebook. On September 13th, 2018, the entertainment industry lost the radiant, courageous Marin Mazzie to cancer. When her diagnosis first became public knowledge, I followed as she and her husband Jason shared their long, inspirational roller coaster, heartbreaking journey via video blogs and posts. A mortal union ended by a villain larger than all their efforts, completely out of their control. My eyes were finally open. My son was showing me what was possible by example. My Facebook and grocery store, quote, guardian angels, unquote, offered verbal suggestion. Marion and Jason, like too many others, are leaving unimaginable loss to variables bigger than their amazing courage and deep love. The lesson was clear. Taking care of my health is a simple, profound expression of how much I love myself and, more importantly, love and want to be with my wife and sons. And also an opportunity to respectfully honor those robbed of such privilege. My life is a gift. To take it for granted is selfish, lazy, and wrong. I decided to make September 28th, 2018, the start of my, quote, lose 57 pounds on my 57th birthday, unquote, diet. My entire family lovingly jumped on board, and we engaged highly recommended nutritionist Lily Padilla to educate us on what it meant to be a clean, organic household. She also created food regimens specific to each of our individual body types and needs. I am proud to report as of my 58th birthday, I've lost over 80 pounds. My wife, Julie, lost 41 pounds, though she didn't need to. Zachary lost over 80 pounds, and my 15-year-old beanpole, Aiden, is finally putting on weight at 6'3". Though the gradual process of my 12-month weight loss has been chronicled on TV as I portray DCPI Garrett Moore on the CBS police drama Blue Bloods, the additional 30 pounds lost during the 4-month hiatus between the shooting season 9 and season 10 finale and season 10 premiere was apparently jarring enough to cause viewers concern and questions of my health. Just 5 months into my diet, our executive producers were generous to shine a spotlight on Garrett's personal health success by adjusting a script already in the show, are dealing with obesity in New York's NYPD, entitled Rectify, season 9, episode 18. I chose to draft this account of my family's health success in response to the significant social media posts with concerns for my well-being. Understandably, to see me in reruns over the summer, averaging close to 270 pounds, the camera adds at least 10 pounds, then suddenly see me at 185 in season 10 premiere can put one off balance. I now feel better than I have in over 12 years. And for those who think I'm too skinny, I've included photos of what I looked like before playing DCPI Garrett Moore. Sure, there are a few more wrinkles, going to take some time for that stretched out facial flab to find a new normal. Fact is, I'm still heavier than I was in 2006 playing Andre Thibault,
yeah.
In the Broadway musical Dirty Rotten Scandals. I appreciate everyone's concern and enjoy the photo journal below. Greg, that is amazing what you did. And I have to say, obviously, I read all that, and that's why I wanted to stop you before, because I wanted to share all of that with everyone. Your family is so important to you and everything to you, and that includes you. Please tell us, what Julie, Zachary, and Aiden bring to your life.
When the decision came at a dinner, sitting around the island in the kitchen, when I said, I'm going to do this, my wife went, great, I'll do it with you. And I know a nutritionist. Zach went, can I also, work on the food? Yes, of course. Aiden said to me, Dad, I don't think you can do it. And he wasn't being, dissenting. How old was he? But he was just like, candor. That kid just speaks from his heart. He goes, it all sounds great, okay? But, maybe he was a little cynical then. But he did. He went, Dad, I don't think you can do it. And I remember going, not being offended, but realizing that that's my son's perception of me, that I'm incapable of that kind of discipline, that it motivated me even more. And I couldn't have done it if I was doing it by myself, that's for sure. It was definitely a team effort. And it's not every day. I'm still, I could still lose 20 pounds. I'm not my lightest, but I'm so much better than I, was. And it's great to know that my body, you actually reprogram yourself to crave healthy food.
Yeah.
It takes a while. There was probably 3 months of meals at home where we'd be eating this anti-inflammatory soup or a salad with sprouted pumpkin seeds and quinoa. And my wife and I would just look at each other across the table, and you could see the thought bubble in both of us, which was, boy, a glass of wine would taste really good, right? And we would say it out loud too. We go, "Oh, you craving wine? Yeah, but we're not, right? Nope, nope, nope. All right, good. Well, when we're instead of wine, we'll have some great organic fruit with a cashew yogurt, and we'll sprinkle it with bee pollen and some mint, and it'll be just as desserty delicious and satisfy our sweet tooth in a much healthier way." And we did. We just learned to. It's a it's reprogramming. But yeah, grateful that I haven't completely fallen off the wagon.
Right. That I wanted, like I said, I wanted to read that whole, because when I read it, I'm like, I have to read that at the end. And that's when you started telling, oh, no, don't tell it yet. I want to tell the whole story. So
I'm so glad you stopped me. That I haven't heard that in a long time.
So that was just wonderful to hear.
But I also, when I was listening to you read it, I was going, oh, that's Kevin Wade's vocabulary of Garrett Moore that's coming out in my words. I go, that's Kevin Wade teaching me how to, structure these lines and use some words that are not Greg Jbara.
Right.
It was like, oh, I'm very proud of that little passage and that you felt it was worthy to read. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Do you have a fan page on Facebook and Instagram where people can find you and follow you?
I have a Facebook professional page that was hijacked a year ago by some entity in the Philippines.
Ugh.
And I've been completely locked out. And they post controversial clickbait in foreign languages in foreign countries, and they're constantly getting shut down. But the page hasn't gone away. I can't get a human being at Meta or Facebook to simply, and we're talking, this is over a year now, this is me. If you look at the history of how my site got compromised, you can see the people that are managing this are not me. They're in the Philippines, they're in Indonesia, they're in China. Someone's selling access so people can do their, post their, tabloid stuff.
Right.
And so frustratingly, I don't have a professional page. I am on Facebook with my personal stuff, and it's basically become the resource. I know what I must do is actually bite the bullet and go into the business department at Meta and say I want to open an account to get a human, because they're going to go, oh, we'll make money off of you. Right. And I go, but before I do that, you have to fix this.
Yeah.
But I just haven't taken the time because I can't believe. I mean, I probably 24 written claims when they were still available. Now you can't even. It is so convoluted for complaints or fixing glitches on your page. There's no way to contact a human being via Facebook. They've taken all the human interaction and the the short list of choices. Is it this? Da, 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 da. None of it addresses my problem, which is I need someone who just has the authority to go in and burn the page down.
Right.
Just shut it down and I'll start over. But my face and name is being equated with political BS all over the world, and it's frustrating.
You are on Instagram though, so people can follow you there, correct?
And I'm on Instagram. None of it is like super active, but and most of the stuff is really personal as opposed to professional. But when there's something about Oppenheimer or something about Blue Bloods, and all I have to do is click that paper airplane to post it on my story, I do that all the time because I feel like I'm doing something, but it's my speed, really easy.
Once again, I want to make sure I thank sponsors of Think Big with Michael Zellner, Buckley's Grill, and co-owners Ken Dick and Jeff Fiorinelli. And they're located at 5355 Poplar Avenue in Memphis, right at the corner of the state. Also want to thank Kelly Potter, who's the co-owner of Roof and Nail, located in Olive Branch, Mississippi, but they do work all over Memphis and the Mid-South. You know, Greg, when I reached out to you last summer over email, you were so extremely nice to me. Your response was really funny. You were more than happy to come on the podcast. And then, like we just talked about a little while ago, we set up part 2, but had to delay it because of the actor and writer strike. And everything actually worked out perfectly, because this is airing the morning of the season premiere tonight on the last and final season 14 of Blue Bloods. And I can't wait for it to begin, but I'm already sad that it's ending. You know, luckily, since Blue Bloods reruns are on CBS streaming, Ion Television, Sundance TV, WeTV, News Nation, and Up TV, I'll still be able to enjoy it, you know, the shows for many years to come. Once again, for everyone, season 14 of Blue Bloods begins tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on CBS. Be sure to check it out. And if you haven't watched the show before, go back to the very beginning, season 1, episode 1, and watch it, because you'll love it, and you'll get to see something most people don't do in every single episode anymore, which is a family eating dinner, Sunday dinner, at a table together, talking, sometimes debating with each other, and doing it normally without cell phones in their hands, because they're forbidden at the Reagan dinner table. Greg, thank you so much again for coming back on for a second time. I know you're in New York City recording, you know, episodes right now, and I appreciate your time, and definitely would love to have you come back on, you know, down the road in a year or two or so, to tell us all the new exciting stuff and the movies and the film you said I think you're producing and everything, and the new gig you said that, you know, Tom got for you and everything, so we can talk about some more stuff sometime.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you. It's been a really ton of fun for me to interview. I appreciate it once again. Thank you so much.
Me
Greg.
too. Thank you.
Thank you.